Hello, this is Fanfiction Spot coming with another part of What If Naruto Had a Gaming System or Solo Leveling. Please like and subscribe, and without any delay let's get started. Higurashi home. Tenten jumped as her mother's hand landed on her shoulder. She had been spacing out as she polished a kunao and so hadn't heard her approach. Oka-san. Sorry dear. The shopkeeper smiled. She was starting to feel a bit concerned for her daughter. The girl had been absently polishing the same kunao for the past hour while staring out into space. Is there something wrong, Tenten? The bun-haired girl blinked before looking away, a blush on her face. You could tell. Considering how you've been polishing the same kunao for the past hour, I think even your father could tell. Connie said dryly, making her daughter flush deeper in embarrassment. I went to deliver the last part of the storm suit to Naruto yesterday. Tenten put the kunao, which had been polished to the point that the metal had been worn thin and nearly broken, down and picked up another one as she spoke, her eyes not leaving the metal. Yes, Tatsuhiko said he'd sent you to act as a delivery girl. The older woman nodded. Did something happen? Naruto called me Tenchan by accident, and he blushed. The aspiring weapons mistress admitted. I kinda blushed too. It was nice. Connie had to suppress a smile at that. It was obvious that Tenten was growing fond of the Kyubi Jinchuriki and that he was growing fond of her as well. She hadn't been happy with Niji being the focus of her daughter's affections. From her own interactions with the young Hyuga prodigy, the boy had seemed quite self-absorbed, which was never good in a relationship. To be young again. She sighed. Oka-san. Tenten whined. Now Tenchan, it isn't the first time someone's called you that. Connie said with a small smile. Is all this embarrassment from you getting called it by a boy, or is it because he called you it without your permission? The Genin Kunoichi blushed again. Kinda sorta both. He's the first boy in my age range to treat me like a serious shinobi and as a friend without looking down on me. Even Lee does it in a weird way when I can't keep up with his and Guy's training sessions. Naruto just doesn't. She was honest enough with herself to admit that she was, without question, the weakest member of Team Guy. While capable enough with melee weapons, her specialty had always been ranged combat, which left her vulnerable to the two taijutsu specialists that she had as teammates. Both Niji and Lee were at least Jonin level when it came to their particular taijutsu styles, but at her best she'd only put herself as mid-Chunin level with her own fighting style, and even then the Sokoken was relatively weak compared to the Goken and Juken. Granted, when it came to Shurikenjutsu, her own specialty, she was almost Jonin level herself, while Niji and Lee both barely being Chunin level. Unfortunately, she could never fully bring that skill to bear against her teammates for one simple reason: speed. Lee and Niji were both insanely fast, easily closing in on Jonin levels, while she was Chunin level at best. That meant the two could close the distance between them faster than she could move to keep it open. Even worse, a lot of the shinobi she interacted with regarded shurikenjutsu as a distraction, or a way to kill those who weren't versed in the use of chakra, like bandits and low-level samurai. That it was her forte made people look down on her. But Naruto didn't. He respected her and liked her. It was flattering, if she were being honest. Yes, he was only an academy student, but he had an arsenal of ninjutsu that most shinin would envy and was a chakra powerhouse. Just being nearby when he was using jutsu made the hair on the back of her neck stand on end simply because of the sheer amount of chakra she could feel pouring out of him. He had been completely unafraid when those Nuke-nin scumbags had attacked them and had even taken a life during the whole mess. He had borne it like a champ, which had made her admire him a bit. She certainly hadn't adjusted well to her first kill. It had been a bandit operating out of a forest on the coast of Hai no Kuni. She had thrown a brace of kunao and pierced through his right eye and heart at the same time. He had dropped head with almost no sound and his sightless eyes had bored into her own. She had snapped out of it, forcing the urge to vomit down until after the mission was complete. I would suggest that you take it slow, Tenten. Connie said gently, drawing the kunoichi from her thoughts. You're both still very young, so just try to be friends with him, although that is likely already the case. Just see how things pan out with Naruto-kun. He is a boy though, so you might have to spell things out for him if you decide that you want to take things further with him. Those words made the blush on her oh so young, oh so sweet daughter's cheeks redouble in strength. Oka-san. The next day, Naruto's classroom, Konohagakure Ninja Academy. The blonde boy who went by the name of Naruto was lost in thought as he contemplated a multitude of things. The least of which was the grapefruit-sized rapidly beating pink heart next to the name of one Hyuga Hinata. This, his frantic research told him, indicated that the person who bore it was madly in love with him. He had pulled up her status page using his observe skill and was stunned at what it showed. Name, Hyuga Hinata. Class, Hyuga Taijutsu Generalist. Level, 15. Next level, 00.00%. Level cap, class up for further level progression. Main, title, Academy Student, plus 25% EXP to LV10. Sub, title, Shy Maiden, plus 25% embarrassment when around non-related males. Age, 12. HP, 4500/4500. CP, 5500/5500. STR, 30. STA, 32. Dex, 60. Int, 55. WIS, 58. Luck, 33. Special status, Modest Byakugan, plus 2 Dex, plus 1 Int, WIS every level, Hyuga Clan Heiress, plus 25% EXP to all Juken Jutsu. Perks, Chakra Control Adept. Kind-hearted. Determined. Flaws, shy, downtrodden, dislikes violence. Hyuga Hinata is the clan heiress of the Hyuga clan, one of the oldest and most respected clans in the elemental nations. In her short life, she has come close to being kidnapped, lost her mother during the birth of her younger sister Hanabi and been blamed by her cousin Niji for the sacrifice of his father after her near kidnapping. Looked down upon by most of her family, her confidence crushed and downtrodden, this shy girl takes confidence from watching the one she loves stand strong despite the burdens upon him. The description of her life up until this moment was an education. She lost her mother, was almost kidnapped and some jerk blamed her for that? Naruto remembered that Tenten's other teammate was this Niji character. Maybe once he sorted out the verbal slip-up he had stumbled over with her yesterday, he could ask her what this Niji guy was like. He did his best not to think about the whole love thing. It made him feel weird. Another thing he had been thinking about was Training Ground 13. Thanks to those spandex-clad morons, it had gotten reset and the difficulty of each sub-area within it had gotten jacked up. Not only that, he had to go out and cleanse each sub-area for an entire week to get them out of oversaturation mode. This meant that he had less time for everything else he had to do, including his daily quests, which was irritating. One quest he had received this morning had been to simply attend the academy, while another was to score above 50% in all class work while at the academy. The rewards were simply small amounts of Ryo and EXP, a drop in both buckets as far as he was concerned, but he did them. A chance at a rare piece of equipment or a jutsu scroll wasn't anything to laugh at. To be blunt, he was going to be busy as hell over the next 3 weeks, at least. It sucked, but what could he do? Blow off his training? Hell no. Alright now, Iruka-sensei was saying, today, we will be talking about ninjutsu, starting with the Academy 3. Every ninja academy in existence worth the name teaches those 3. Less common are the so-called traveling tenjutsu. These are all E-rank jutsu that were commonly used during the Warring Clans period, but advances in technology have rendered over 3/4 of them obsolete. It is still highly recommended for ninja to learn them if possible, as times have also proved that technology can fail. The scarred shinin turned and started writing on the board, placing the title of the jutsu at the top. Now, who can name one of the traveling 10 for me? As expected, Sakura's hand shot up. Aside from her, only Koji and Shino raised their hands. Yes, Sakura-chan. Cat-on, Ibana, Fire Style, Spark, Dot. The pinkette said with a small smile. It was used to light kindling for campfires. Correct. Iruka nodded. It is a weak enough jutsu that even those without a fire affinity could easily learn it. Out of all of the 10, Ibana is the most commonly known one due to the utility of it. Anyone else? Sudden, Roiki, Water Style, Filtrate, Dot. Koji offered. It cleans water of impurities, but only a bowlful at a time. Correct. The scarred shinin nodded. Roiki was used before we developed filtration seals for water canteens, but I would advise you to learn it regardless. Shino. Doton, Anna, Earth Style, Hole, Dot. The Abarame stated softly. It is used to create a foot-square hole in the ground commonly used as a fire pit for a campfire. Again, correct. Iruka wrote the 3 jutsu mentioned on the board. Anna was and is used for semi-permanent camps while on border patrol missions, where a simple circle of stones is less desired. Anyone else? There were no others. Okay, 3 out of 10. The chin inside. The other 7 are Raiden, Seidenki, Lightning Style, Static Charge, which was used to kill blood-sucking insects before the advent of insect repellents, many of which we can thank our own Abarame clan for. Futon, Soyokazi, Wind Style, Gentle Breeze, which is used to push a small amount of wind into an area, providing a through draft in a building, before the advent of air conditioning. Futon, Shoshu, Wind Style, Deodorize, which erases weak to moderate scents from all but scenting. Abilities on the level of the Inuzuka clan or their ninkin. Cat-on, Kesu, Fire Style, Extinguish, which is used to eliminate any heat or sparks from a campfire once you want it to go out completely. Doton, Omuro, Earth Style, Fill-in, which closes up holes such as the type made by Anna. Suten, Katsuro, Water Style, Condensation, which draws water from the air to a specific location within a meter of the user, useful for if you aren't near a river or are at sea. And finally, Doton, Wana, Earth Style, Snare. which creates a small pit with a thin covering of earth over the top of it, used as either a way of capturing small animals for food or as a defense for around a campsite, at least against those enemies who are unskilled in the use of chakra. Naruto copied down the details of the traveling 10 and wondered why he hadn't heard of them before now. He actually put his hand up and asked that. A good question, Naruto. Iruka nodded. As the 10 aren't combat-oriented like the 3 are, they get considerably less fame and are thus ignored by most stories and fables. Any veteran ninja will tell you, however, that the 10 are just as important as the 3. After that, Mizuki passed out a scroll to each student that had the traveling 10 jutsu in it. Noticing a slight knowing sneer on the blue-haired teacher's face, Naruto used observe on the scroll. Doctored Traveling Tenjutsu Scroll. A heavily altered version of the Traveling Tenjutsu Scroll that has key text portions and diagrams removed from the tenjutsu it contains. They will either not work at all or blow up in the user's face. A weary sigh left Naruto as he shook his head at Mizuki's antics. The blue-haired Shinin-sensei had sabotaged his taijutsu, now he was trying to sabotage his ninjutsu. Lovely, just freaking peachy. As if the blonde orphan didn't already have enough to do as it was, now he had to deal with this. End of the week. Sub-Area 1, Training Ground 13. Naruto dove under the slavering maw of a ravening rabid red squirrel and sliced up with Tsubaki, gutting the beast in mid-flight. The yowl of pain from the squirrel was almost enough to shatter his eardrums. You have inflicted a gutting wound on a ravening rabid red squirrel? It is fatal. Time until death, 10:59. Even as the chakra mutant landed on the ground, actually crashing would be a better word for it, Naruto was already moving in for the kill. Bleeding to death was not a pleasant way to go, at least according to Iruka-sensei, so mercy strokes were encouraged in these kinds of situations. You have slain Ravening Rabid Red Squirrel x10, you earn 3000 EXP, you have slain Gnashing Nasty Grey Squirrel x5, you earn 2250 EXP. Wiping his blades on the fur of the nearest dead mutant, Naruto sheathed Tsubaki and Sumair at his back and hit the loot all button. He got a bunch of squirrel fur and bones, with some ryo and even another jutsu scroll. What's this? Ninpo, Kitsunuraisu no Binsho, ninja art, nimbleness of the fox squirrel. He muttered before actually opening it and scanning the description. It was a jutsu that used the user's chakra to boost the user's dexterity while active. Not only that, once it got to higher levels, there was a chance to develop more techniques based on the abilities of a squirrel. The more dex that he had, the higher the chance of him hitting things with shuriken jutsu was, as well as granting a bonus to all of his skills that used dex to determine their effects. Evasion would get a bonus at a higher level, for example. And, with the amount of chakra that he had available, he didn't see why he couldn't keep the jutsu active 24/7. At least while he was awake, anyway. You have acquired the Ninpo, Kitsunuraisu no Binsho Jutsu Scroll. Do you wish to learn this? YN. Hitting Y with eagerness, Naruto saw the blue light of the jutsu scroll divide in two, with half going into his inventory and the other half entering him. Congratulations! You have learned Ninpo, Kitsunuraisu no Binsho. Ninpo, Kitsunuraisu no Binsho, active, LV1, 00.00. Ninja art, nimbleness of the fox squirrel was developed by a small clan who entered Konoha a decade after Senjo Hashirama's famous battle with Uchiha Madara. They were the Kimono clan, a group of non-blood-related ninja who had banded together due to a shared interest in developing jutsu similar to the Inuzuka's Jiju Ninpo, Shikyaku no Jutsu, allowing them to mimic the actions and traits of animals, without the feral instincts and appearance of the dog clan. They mysteriously vanished after the Second Great Shinobi War, leaving nothing behind except their empty clan compound. This jutsu allows one to mimic the agility and nimbleness of a fox squirrel, a breed known for their agility, to increase the amount in the dex stat. Costs 15 CP/minute. Grants a dex bonus of +5. It seemed a bit lacking, but then again it was only at level 1, which was the equivalent of an E or D-ranked jutsu. You couldn't expect that much. Hey, this would be good for someone who uses their dex stat a lot, like Tenten. Naruto realized with a grin. I'll give her the copy as an apology for calling her Tenchan without permission. Gomi. Planned safely in his mind, Naruto looked around. That had been the third group of squirrels he had defeated today, but it was the largest by far. If he was a betting man, he'd bet on the area boss showing up soon. In a flash of movement, Naruto was suddenly standing in a very familiar clearing, where the husk of a split tree stood. This was where he had faced the berserk fox squirrel the first time. Knowing what was about to happen, Naruto drew Tsubaki and Sumair and activated the Chakra Nagashi, Futon Jutsu through them. A blue glow surrounded his blades and he could almost hear the shriek of the wind as it was formed into invisible blades along the edge of his tanto. He also activated his new Ninpo, Kitsunuraisu no Binsho. You never knew when you'd need a bit of extra speed and it wasn't like he didn't have the chakra for it. As the last time, a tree erupted from the ground, with a giant squirrel perched atop the topmost branches. Unlike last time, the tree itself was warped and evil-looking. Then Naruto took a good look at the area boss. LV-19 Bloody Berserk Fox Squirrel. Shadow of the Fox. Oh, fuck. Naruto gulped. 4 levels above him, and it actually had a title now, as opposed to how it had been when it had been level 7. This did not bode well. Not only that, it looked even more buff than last time, which was saying something. The version that Nico-san had ever so casually beheaded had been more ripped than a professional bodybuilder. With a bestial snarl that sounded as if it came from a far larger beast, the superpowered chakra mutant leapt at Naruto with speed that exceeded his expectations. Fast. He dodged to the side and lashed out with his twin tanto in a scissor motion, the invisible blades biting deep into the beast's flesh. Seemingly able to completely ignore the chakra-infused blades in its side, the squirrel lashed out with one talon-bearing paw, forcing Naruto back again. For a few minutes, Naruto struggled with the bloody berserk fox squirrel, making full use of his evasion skill and counter-attacking when he could, but the chakra mutant was just too fast. The blonde boy leapt over one scything talon to land on the back of the squirrel and proceeded to stab the fuck out of it with first one, then both of his tanto multiple times, making the area boss shriek with rage and pain. Whomp! Naruto felt something hit the side of his body and then a brief sensation of weightlessness before tumbling side over side across the ground. Damn it, he'd forgotten about the damn tail. You were struck by the tail of the bloody berserk fox squirrel? You lose 100 HP? Status defense down inflicted for 120 seconds? Okay, seriously? What the fuck? Naruto gasped as he flipped to his feet. Taking advantage of the distance between him and the boss, he sheathed his blades and ran through 2 series of hand signs in a row. Doton, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Erupting from the ground at his command, 20 rock clones shot towards the surprised boss monster, with the 8 shadow clones starting a barrage of Gansatsukan, Dangan, and Senfukyu that rained down on the oversized monster. Naruto noticed that his rock clones were using Chakra Nagashi, Doton in order to further increase the strength of their rock tanto blades and Gansatsukan strikes. He hadn't realized that you could use the Doton variant of the Chakra Nagashi Jutsu through a construct like the Gansatsukan. You learn something new every day. Shaking his head and pulling his mind out of that line of thought, the blonde boy drew his tanto again and joined in with his rock clones to attack the bloody berserk fox squirrel up close and personal. It wasn't easy due to the speed and surprising agility of the beast, but the rock clones and Naruto managed somehow, especially with the rear line fire support of the shadow clones. The steel-hard hide of the squirrel was literally covered in cuts, some deep enough to pierce through to the other side at thin enough points, but the dim monster just refused to keel over and die. How stubborn was this bastard? Craters ripped open in its flesh from the Senfukyu, limbs pierced through with Gansatsukan, and several close calls with the Dangan. The sheer tenacity of an area boss was not to be underestimated. Boss, look! One shadow clone yelled when the red chakra of the Kyuubi enveloped the bloody berserk fox squirrel. Just as expected, it must be on its last legs to use its trump card. Naruto quickly dropped back out of close combat range to summon more Iwa Bunshin. The ones already out had to be running low on chakra and they would be crunched in a second once the stronger and faster chakra mutant got its claws into them. Your clones take damage from the corrosive shroud of the beast? The blonde boy was suddenly very glad that he had retreated. That hadn't happened last time? He could even see the red chakra eating into the bodies of the clones, damaging them every time they went within a foot of the hulking monstrosity. Swiftly ordering only the mostly untouched rock clones to remain in close combat range, Naruto had the others pull back and add to the ninjutsu barrage, pelting the bloody berserk fox squirrel with Gansatsukan and Dangan, as well as kunao and shuriken made from rock that had been created with them. Such was the sheer volume of missiles being hurled at it, the area boss was actually forced back. The damage wasn't all that much now though, as the chakra shroud, in addition to boosting its physical stats and damaging anything nearby, also seemed to be acting as some kind of chakra-based armor. The Dangan got through it easily, as there was too much mass for it to corrode away quickly enough, and Gansatsukan were still hurting it, though less than before, but the shuriken and kunao made of rock were now proving to be as useful as a chocolate kettle. Finally, the squirrel leapt away from the clones and opened its mouth. Bits of dark red and blue chakra gathered into an almost colorless ball the size of a grapefruit in front of it, and every danger sense that Naruto possessed went off, shrieking at him to not get hit by that thing at all costs. Leaping away from his clones, the blonde boy barely managed to throw himself behind a nearby tree when the bloody berserk fox squirrel fired the ball of chakra. It plowed through his clones like a scythe through a field of corn, smashing the rock clones into pebbles and dispersing the shadow clones into chakra smoke. When it sped past the tree that Naruto was hiding behind, the density of the chakra ball made him very much unnerved. If that had hit me, I'd be dead. Naruto watched horrified fascination as the ball of condensed chakra slammed through several trees before blowing up like a ball of explosive notes on steroids. He had to flip himself around the tree to avoid the shockwave of the blast, as well as several bits of wood that may as well have been crude kunao from the speed they went at. He heard several of them thunk into the wood and stay there. He didn't need to be as smart as Sakura-chan to know they would have made holes the size of an Akimiki's finger in him had he not moved. Boss fired chakra bullet? Boss now suffers from stun. A savage grin crossed Naruto's face. Payback time. He charged forwards, drawing his tanto as he did, and went head to head with the dazed beast. He cut, slashed, stabbed, and impaled the dim monster in a somewhat frenzied rush. His last two strikes took out an eye with Samire and sliced open its jugular vein with Tsubaki respectively. With a choked sound, the bloody berserk fox squirrel collapsed to the ground, twitching for a few moments before they faded and the body stilled. Congratulations! You slew the bloody berserk fox squirrel? You earn 3,500 EXP? Congratulations, you have leveled up? LV15 LV16. You have 5 attribute points to spend. Short Blades Mastery has leveled up. LV3 LV4. Evasion has leveled up. LV2 LV3. Futon, Senfukyu no Jutsu has leveled up. LV3 LV4. Doton, Dangan no Jutsu has leveled up. LV4 LV5. Doton, Gansitsukan no Jutsu has leveled up. LV7 LV8. Detect Bloodlust has leveled up. LV10 LV11. As a result of repeated actions, you have gained the Backstab skill. Backstab, passive, LV1, 00.00. As a ninja, you do not charge in headfirst, yelling a battle cry and fighting honorably like a samurai. No, you are a shadow warrior, who uses stealth, guile and trickery to defeat your foes. At least you're supposed to be, anyway. This skill rewards that by granting you increased damage to your strikes as long as your target is unaware of your presence. Take a hint. All attacks made while your target is unaware of your presence have all damage boosted by +10. All attacks made while using stealth skills to mask your presence from your target are granted an additional damage boost of +5 and an additional +5% chance to crit. As a result of a specific action, you have created the skill Self-Taught Naido Ryu Tanto Kenjutsu, Hasamajiri. Self-Taught Naido Ryu Tanto Kenjutsu, Hasamajiri, active, LV1, 00.00. Created by Uzumaki Naruto in a fight against a vastly superior opponent, the scissor cut technique cuts the enemy with both blades overlapping like scissors an instant before impact, doubling the damage they deal. Costs 40 CP to use. When used, the strike multiplies the damage dealt by 2 should the blows land. Grants a +5 chance to inflict the bleeding status effect on the target, as well as a +5 chance to crit. Whew! Naruto whistled. That was a couple of pretty good skills he'd developed. Although he had to wonder about the way that first description was written. It sounded like someone was dissing him. He looked up as a crimson-red light emerged from the corpse of the squirrel and shot at him. He had no chance to do more than blink in shock before the red chakra slammed into him. You have absorbed the remaining chakra of the Kyubi no Kitsune from the bloody berserk fox squirrel? You permanently gain +200 CP. The boy had been staggered by the impact, but his eyes widened as he read the notice. What the? I thought that stuff was corrosive. Why aren't I dead and why did I absorb it in the first place? Much to his surprise, another pop-up appeared. Help feature, active. Biju chakra is attracted to stronger reservoirs of similar Biju chakra unless contained within a specially sealed vessel or a living being. That you absorbed the chakra of the nine-tailed fox logically means you have said tailed beast sealed within you. Have a nice day. Naruto stared blankly at the screen with a deadpan expression on his face. Seriously? What the fuck?